Thank you, President Steenkamp and Dr. Hudson, for hosting us on your beautiful campus. I'm Philip Mai. I am the co-director of the Social Media Lab and one of the organizers of today's workshop on antisocial behavior online. Is a growing problem, as Dr. Steenkamp alluded to. It's negatively affecting our social cohesion and our politics. You see reporters, politicians, and just average citizens being hounded online, being stalked online. It has now basically become too commonplace online. There's a need for more empirical data and studies to better understand why this is happening so that we can make better policy choices going forward. So today we've lined up an exciting series of sessions on data collections and data analysis of antisocial behavior online from 9:30 until noon today. And then after the morning session, there is a lunch break for those of you who are here in person, courtesy of Royal Road University. And then after lunch, we have another round of excellent presentation lined up for you. Caroline Haythornthwaite from Syracuse University will discuss moderator or algorithms, focusing on what to do when we identify instances of antisocial behavior. George Valances from Royal Roads will lead a hands-on exercise on data reporting, retelling the story. And Hazel Kwan from Arizona State University will close with a session focusing on challenges and opportunities with antisocial behavior research, because we've identified some of them we want to share with the community so that we can overcome some of them. But before we go into the first session with Dr. Anatoly Gruz on data collection of observed data from social media, I'd like to briefly tell you a little bit about the Social Media Lab. The lab is a multidisciplinary research laboratory at Ted Rogers School of Management at Toronto Metropolitan University. Our research seeks to advance the public understanding of the benefits and pitfalls of social media adoption. The lab is led by myself and Dr. Anatoly Gruz. Our research focus is wide and varied. We study how social media is changing the way people and organizations communicate, share information, and form communities online. We usually have 5 or 6 projects on the go at any point in time, focusing on one or more of these 8 areas: analytics, health, privacy, politics, misinformation, and so on. We usually hire about 5 to 10 students each year from a variety of programs across our campus, including management, computer science, psychology, digital marketing, communication, even hospitality and tourism, because again, we host a lot of these workshops and events throughout the year, so we use people and rely on people with various types of skills. And we also train postdocs. So since 2014, we've trained 8 postdocs at our lab. We also have a large network of collaborators from around the world that we often work with from North America, Europe, Asia, and so on on different grant projects around the world. We've received, many people are always curious how we receive and where we receive our funding from. And so we're pretty transparent about that. We don't take funding from any of the company that we study, but we take lots of funding from the governments and other groups that help us understand the online space. So we see grants from all of the major research council in Canada, including the Social Science Research Council, the the NSERC, CIHR, the World Health Organization, and many different large multinational corporations. The mantra at the lab is, if you have a grant, we have a proposal for you. Along with training highly qualified personnel, as an academic research lab, our primary focus is academic publications of various types, from high-impact journals to conference presentations to posters, and so on. In recent years, we've also built up the expertise in-house to produce major public reports on topics of public interest. For example, at the outbreak of the pandemic, we put out a survey on COVID misinformation online, just to get a sense of what people are seeing online, how it's affecting them. And we were able to bring that out within months of the outbreak of the pandemic. For example, recently, last month, we just released, with the outbreak of the war in Ukraine, we released the report on misinformation and disinformation and propaganda coming from Russia directed at Canada, because we want to know whether this stuff has basically worm its way into the brains of Canadians. We want to know and have the data for that because we hear too many reporters saying that they are so effective, and we want to know, are they? How effective are they? So in the next few months, we'll also have a couple other reports that we're going to be releasing. We're going to be updating our State of Social Media report, which is something that we release every 2 years, where we ping Canadians and says, hi, how are you spending your time online? Where are you spending your time online? Which app are you using? And the other report that we're very excited to release later this fall is on the influence of influencers. A lot of influencers are saying that they're very influential. They're charging a lot of money for posts and videos and so on to brands. But we want to understand more about that space and figure out, are they really as influential as they say? What are people watching? Who are they following online? What makes somebody influential? So some of that will be in the report. Our work has been featured in various mainstream media outlets from around the world. Every year, we usually have about 30 to 100 earned media mentioned each year. Because again, because of the type and the breadth of the research that we do, there's usually a project that we can speak to on things that are happening in the world. We also host one of the largest visiting scholar program at Toronto Metropolitan University. So every year we have 2 or 3 researchers from around the world that comes in. With the pandemic, we kind of slowed that down a little bit, but we're hoping to start up when things are hopefully one day back to normal. And as a lab, we also, like I said before, organize large international conferences as well as more focused research seminars, such as the one that you are attending today. The next iteration of the Social Media Society Conference is going to be 2024, place and time TBD. And the other thing that makes our lab unique in Canada and in the world is that not only do we do original empirical studies, we also develop data analytics and visualization software for the academic communities. So over the last decade, we created tools like Netlytic that will let you capture data from public data from Twitter, from YouTube comments and so on, so that you can study online community, why people follow each other, why do they hit that like button. But you can use our tools to collect that data. One of our newest tool and dashboard is the conflict misinformation dashboard. It's an information dashboard that keeps track of misinformation about the Russian-Ukraine war. So every morning, policymakers and others and journalists are using this dashboard to see the type of misinformation that's currently floating around online. So this way, you can see patterns over time. We're using it in the lab to basically understand the flow of misinformation, the types of misinformation, and whether they're changing over time. So if you'd like more information about our lab, please visit the lab's website. All the tools and all the reports that I mentioned earlier are available there. And now I'd like to turn it over to our next speaker, Dr. Anatoly Gruz, who will go into our first session on data collection. Thank you so much.